Welcome to LibertyCon, ladies and gentlemen. We are here in beautiful Miami and we are celebrating liberty. It's so good to see so many of you, old friends and new friends. And I don't know if you have taken a closer look at the agenda, but it's really, really diverse. It's really interesting, all the kinds of topics that we're addressing here at this conference. And when I was looking through the agenda, I really thought this is a great reflection of liberty, because liberty is diverse and has all kinds of different angles. The core idea, of course, is simple. Don't hurt other people and don't steal their stuff, as Matt Kibbe would say. Or you can do anything you want as long as you don't infringe on other people's rights. Now, that's a simple message. However, the implications and the applications are very complex. And you can see this in the program. So for instance, later today, you will have a hip-hop producer joined by a Christian mother talking about criminal justice reform. Tomorrow, you will have a basketball player, an NBA player, talking about how he's fighting one of the most oppressive regimes on the planet, the Chinese government. And you will also have a debate about supranational organizations like NATO and what classical liberals and pro-liberty advocates should say about that. And I want to just thank all of the speakers, all of you, and all of the sponsors for making this possible. Specifically, I want to say thank you to Reason and LGBT for Liberty. I want to say thank you for the Prometheus Foundation, the Grassroots Leadership Academy, and a special thank you also to the Leadership Institute for all the great training that they produce for students. And of course, none of that would be possible without tons of our students and our staff that make this possible. Because there is a worldwide force for liberty out there, and I think you will learn more and more about this in the coming days. Because here, the audience, you will learn it is diverse. People will be here from over 50 different countries, and that's a low estimate. And those folks, all of you, you have different motivations and foundations for liberty. You have different beliefs, and you have diverse strategies to achieve liberty. But I believe that there's no single one bullet for liberty. There's many different ways of accomplishing that. Maybe with art, with music, with journalism, with books, with politics. And all of you can be a part of that, and that you are here is fantastic, because liberty is not only diverse, it's also borderless. Because back in the 60s, when libertarianism for the first time evolved here in the United States, you could fit the whole movement into an apartment in New York. Now look around you. And we have also tens of thousands of people watching this program online right now, so hi to you guys as well. But Students for Liberty only started 15 years ago, and it was just a handful of students. It was Sloan Frost, Sam Ekman, and Alexander McCoben, and Alexander also the founder of Students for Liberty and the president, who started the organization. They just saw a need for students to come together and talk about these ideas, because universities are unfortunately not a place where you learn a whole lot about business cycle theory or about really good philosophy. And they started a conference, and this is basically the continuation of this conference. Back then it was not called LibertyCon, but it's the same conference. And they didn't think like, how many people who are interested in these are out there? 20, 50? But over 100 people showed up, and it was the worst possible circumstance. There was a blizzard going on. People were calling them like, hey, is the conference still happening? The maintenance dude forgot to keep the door open so they couldn't get in. But they managed it. And then it clicked for them and said like, hey, we need to start an organization. And now they're still on the board and serving Students for Liberty. I will be joined by John Mackey, also later on stage. He's a board member. And then we also have here Dan Grossman, who is a board member as well. Now, fast forward. Remember, just a handful of students organizing something? Fast forward, last year, our students have organized over 2,000 events with 215,000 people attending those events. Yes, you can cheer for that. The hunger for liberty that you have in your bellies right now, that's the reason why you're here, is universal. Other people share the same hunger. Maybe they look different. They come from different creeds, gender, age, ethnicity. But it doesn't matter. It unites us. And every society, every nation has stories of oppression, but also of liberation. And that's how we can connect here, and that's how we are connecting, bringing people together. Because the enemies of liberty want to divide. They pivot rich versus poor, foreigners versus citizens, left versus right. And we got to transcend that. We need to stop bickering, complaining, and have this permanent outrage, and let's take actions. Because liberty is beautiful, and we need to invite people into our ideology. Because what is more beautiful to tell somebody like, I believe in you, and I believe that you can produce a lot of value in society and make a living for yourself, for your family, for your community. That's very empowering. Versus the left and right that just say like, government knows best, you're stupid, and government will fix it for all of us, which we sure know is not how it works. So let's communicate the beauty of liberty, but also the third point that I'm making. Liberty is diverse, it's borderless, but also liberty has a bite. The ideas that we have are powerful. And I want you to take one of these ideas that we're discussing during this conference and make it something that you want to learn more about or even take action on. Because our students are taking action. Just in the last year, we had students being featured by CNN and BBC because they were protesting the police brutality in Nigeria, the so-called EndSARS protests. And talking about police brutality, it means, for instance, that one of our staffers, he got held up at gunpoint by the police, put into an abandoned building, and then they extorted money from him, saying if he doesn't pay, he will be killed. That happens to staff and students on a daily basis in Nigeria, and I'm sure other countries. But these students were out there protesting. We had students being imprisoned in Belarus, but also in Myanmar, fighting against dictatorships, standing up for free speech. And that's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. But I would say we have tough challenges ahead as well, as a society, as a community of pro-liberty advocates. And the thing that I make the focus of my work in the future, which I'm passionate about, but you should pick your own, is the topic of inflation. Because I believe that in the next few years it will be a difficult time. Because economic turmoil is always the prerequisite for political populism and dictatorships. And right now, over 2 billion people live in 10% of inflation or more. 2 billion. If you look to the Netherlands, 17%. Look to Nigeria, 21%. Look to the United States, 8.3%, not that far off to the 10% range. And this won't stop anytime soon. And if it only stops, it's because we have like a recession and depression because they've printed too much money. But this is our opportunity. We have the ideas. Milton Friedman, Austrian economics, even Milton, who was a fan of central banks at the beginning of his career, at the end of his career, he admitted the track record of the Federal Reserve is poor. I don't believe that they are independent from politics, and we should get rid of it. And right now, we see the results of this. We see boom and bust cycles, debt levels that are not sustainable, because none of the audience here who is Gen Zs or millennials will believe that you will ever get anything from Social Security or whatever the equivalent is in your country. There's infinite wars are happening. The Vietnam War in the United States was the last war, I don't know if you realize that was actually fought where they tried to just like raise debt and like pay it with taxes. After that, it was just debt and the money printer. We now have a system, and this system is not very old. It's only a little bit over 100 years old, where a bunch of people sit in a room looking at statistics and say like, oh, we have to print more money, creating something out of nothing. And that's not sustainable. So this for me is something that I focus on, but I encourage you, find something that you want to bite into and make it your passion. Because if you agree with what I'm saying, join Students for Liberty. We have a campaign right now, it's called Stop Stealing Our Future. And you can join us, and we already have like protests lined up in a bunch of countries where government systematically is stealing the future of everyone in that country. If you disagree with me, perfect. Join us as well. Because we believe in empowerment of the individual. So you can be part of our programs, and you can say like, hey, I want to spread liberty through art or through music. And we say like, more power to you. We will give the mentors, we give the network, we will give the training, and off you go. So join us, learn as much as you can this weekend, and take action for liberty. Thank you for being here.